Chalicotheres are one of my favorite prehistoric animals. They were a diverse group of browsing perissodactyl ungulates related to rhinos, tapirs, and horses that first evolved in the Eocene and were going strong until the Miocene, with a few holdouts until the Pleistocene. Unlike the living perissodactyls I listed, the Chalicotheres had clawed feet. Their forelimbs were longer than their hind limbs. There were two clades, Schizotherinae and Chalicotheriinae. Schizotherinae lived throughout Africa, North America, and Eurasia. They had long necks and a prehensile tongue like giraffes that facilitated high browsing, aided by hips and hind legs adapted for rearing up to employ their retractable claws in manipulating branches. With a fairly generalist bulk feeder diet, they lived in open and closed forests along with shrubland and prairie. Chalicotheriinae was exclusive to closed canopy rainforests. Unlike the longer necks in conjunction with clawed arms, these ungulates fully invested in arm-based foraging. They walked on their knuckles like gorillas to keep their claws sharp, unlike the retractable claws of their Schizotherian cousins. In fact, their build was in many ways convergent with great apes and ground sloths, being well adapted to sit for hours, grab and pull foliage, and enjoy a selective diet of soft leaves, fruits, and seeds. They were much more specialized animals than their Schizotherian kin. In Kaimere, both types of Chalicothere were introduced during the Miocene and found success, but the Chalicotherians, as specialized for closed forests, had a harder time adapting. The Schizotherians, on the other hand, thrived. They actually arose to dominance in the aftermath of the dynastic extinction, being the largest terrestrial animals in the known world for a period of around 2 million years, and defining the woods and shrubland with their foraging before titanosaurs returned to the known world, reclaiming the title of stewards of the forest. Once the Titans reclaimed their throne, the giant Chalicotheres were pushed to the fringes of the known world. With their great size, but this time already exceeding 10 tons in the case of stallions, were very efficient migrators. It wasn't long before they crossed the scattered land bridge to the eastern continent, which formed between 8 and 10 million years ago. They had higher degrees of success there, but in the known world, the giant Chalicotheres had gone extinct. With the forests generally opened up by Titans, the closed forest Chalicotheriinae struggled to adapt as well, and by 8 million years ago, only one species remained in the closed forests of the crescent jungles. The Miocene harvest in South America flooded the known world with ground sloths. The known world at the time had become very warm and humid, quite similar in climate and range of habitat to their home back on Miocene Earth. These sloths competed directly with the Chalicotheres of the scattered forests, and sloths could be more efficient travelers between wetlands that separated their fertile pockets of fruit. In a very short period of time, sloths outcompeted the last remaining Chalicotheres, and the clade went extinct in the known world. The state of their absence would continue for almost 5 million years. A period of aridity and cooling from the shifting continents to the south triggered a series of localized extinctions which resulted in a harvest from Southeast Asia during the Middle Pleistocene. This harvest brought a wide range of animals like tigers and Dinofelis, Gigantopithecus and macaques, Cervovitus and tapirs, the common rhinoceros, and Homo erectus. This harvest brought so many animals that their diseases and competition created a minor extinction event, which only further expanded the time and range of the harvest, and ultimately included fauna from Australia, something we will cover in next week's episode. The turnover of flora and fauna at this time was substantial, and it was one of the longest and most significant harvests in recent history. Hesperotherium was one of the many animals brought during this harvest. Although not a major player in the ecology of the known world, they did find success in Arvel, especially in the uneven highland forests where they were more closed due to the elevation preventing Titans from clearing the trees. In modern Kaimere, a species of Hesperotherium called the tugor is quite common, browsing in the highland forests that are too hot for the fauna of the highland steppes to the south, but too uneven for the Titans. The river valleys are packed with fruit and delicate leaves perfect for these browsers. They share their territory with a species of Gigantopithecus, the second largest ape in Kaimere, which does have some niche crossover, but generally prefers feeding on the bamboo forests in the mountains between these valleys. The Hukelgor sloth also shares this habitat, but they are bulk feeders with no real preference for food. It does mean that these three animals of unrelated ancestry but similar body plans share a single habitat, something that never happened on Earth. 500,000 years later, around 1 million years ago, another land bridge formed on the eastern continent to the north. Housey grass teemed into the known world, and with it, a wide cast of fauna from the eastern continent. Among these was the glanos, one of the giants that once ruled the known world. They were primarily specialists of the maples that grow throughout the prairie, but adults will readily supplement with the Housey grass in abundance. Stallions of this species can weigh up to 17 tons, making them by far the largest Chalicotheres of Earth or Kaimere, and the second largest terrestrial ungulate after Paraceratherium. Glanos are now one of the most common large animals on the prairie. They have evolved alongside the Uctan, and therefore have a wide range of instinctive defenses, circling up around their foals and standing to employ their meter-long claws. They live in small herds of related females led by a matriarch and defended by a single stallion. Stallions are highly combative, and challenges for the title can be lethal. It is not uncommon for predators to gather when they hear the deep bellows as a pair of 12 to 17 ton bulls size each other up, for the loser will often result in an easy meal. A lone glanos without a herd to circle with is often vulnerable, especially if he has just sustained injury in a fight with another stallion. During the conquest of the Chakati Empire, the Shu predominantly relied on their mounted archers, lancers, and light cavalry. They dominated in open contests. However, when it came to attacking fortifications, a majority of actual battles, their cavalry was for naught. Fortunately, the Shu had a solution to this problem: war glanos. For thousands of years, Shu have known that glanos stallions can project their protective instincts upon a herd of horses. Mare glanos are wary around people, taking over a decade to reach maturity, and they require a lot of food, so glanos have never been truly domesticated. However, a young glanos stallion can imprint on horses and, especially if gelded before maturity, this will continue throughout their many decades of lifetime. This primes them for remaining with a cavalry unit that they bond with, and are responsive to the same riders. For the Dolani nomads, this means protection from Uctan and other predators. For Shu seeking to conquer an empire, it quickly was learned that the armored, well-trained glanos could serve both as a siege tower for quickly bringing troops to fortifications, but also to knock down walls or rip open doors. Many castles and cities were taken in the early years of imperial conquest by these methods. As the empire expanded to new marshlands and mountains, this became less effective, but by then they had a robust supply of food, land, and wealth to hire additional troops and adapt their technology. War glanos are still present to this day, but they haven't seen much use outside of wall defense against Uctan and other wild threats in recent history, now that the empire has enjoyed a golden age of prosperity. There are rumors that a small population of forest giants still endure in the woodlands of Arvel along its western coast. The Arvel claim these titan sloths, or Hugoldun, sometimes find their way to the known world. Enough accounts are consistent that they are considered likely. Little is known of them, but it seems they live much like a glanos, save for a very dark brown pelt. Although Chalicotheres have declined in the known world diversity that they once held on Earth and Kaimere, the survivors are some of the largest and most successful megafauna of the known world and beyond. They have shaped not only their natural history of Kaimere, but have also been a defining aspect of the history and the peoples too, establishing a strong legacy of these fascinating animals that, on Earth, have been long lost to time. Shout out to Tim and Connor for sponsoring this episode. Chalicotheres are a clade that has fascinated me for years. Although the glanos has come up in several episodes, it was exciting to give them a bit of a spotlight today. In fact, as a special for their birthday, a single species episode on the glanos has been sponsored by Stonebone, same sponsor as my previous harvest episodes. That will come out on September 4th, so if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to come back and check out that sequel. Next week, we're going to learn about the range of Australian fauna that came during the same Pleistocene harvest as Hesperotherium, a topic I'm really excited to unpack. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and stay fantastic. Cheers, folks!